Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Crazy About Kickoff. This is the AFCON final preview, and it's an interesting one. We've got Mo Salah versus Sadio Mané. So, John, how do you think it's going to go? Not the actual match, we'll do the predictions last, but we'll talk through the how it's gone so far for the teams and that.
Yeah, I mean, look, both teams probably didn't start the tournament as well as they wanted. Like, I think Senegal only picked up one win and scored one goal in their group. Obviously, Egypt lost their first game. Granted, it was to Nigeria, who before the tournament were probably one of the favourites. But both teams have looked pretty good. I mean, defensively, probably more surprisingly, they've both looked incredibly solid. I mean, Edouard Mendy in goal for Senegal probably is a big help. And the Senegal squad in general really is probably one of the most well-rounded teams in the tournament. But I think Egypt, the way that they have played this tournament, it's very tournament. It's a very good tournament style. Like, I think people forget that when you go into a tournament, it's always like people. You need to win the game, but you don't always have to do it like stupidly well. You just have to get through. Like you can make a tournament can be a grind, and
Yeah,
Egypt seems to be thriving off that grind. And I think Mo Salah is the perfect player to encapsulate that because he's willing to grind to get things he wants and to get goals and assists in his personal game. And I think now that sort of mentality shifted onto the whole Egypt team, and they're just like they seem so resilient. And look, they're obviously very successful in the tournament in the history of it, so they could. There's no reason to suggest that they can't get another one tonight, but they do come up against a Senegal team who probably equally ready to put their history on the tournament as well.
yeah, like you've just said, Egypt are 7-time winners. Senegal have never actually won the thing. And as you said, with the likes of Mendy, Mané, Ghana Gay, they've got a good spine to do so.
Mm.
But I think Egypt have been quite surprising so far. Like everyone wrote them off. We wrote them off in our preview. I think we had like Nigeria, Senegal, and
Ivory
a couple
Coast.
of a couple of teams ahead of them. Mainly Algeria have shocked us the way they went out in the groups, because they were like 34 or 39 games unbeaten, depending on where you actually go for your information. I think one of them includes the Arab Cup, which obviously is only Arab nations, so it's not really that relevant. So maybe some people don't include that. But yeah, Egypt have definitely surprised. I think the most surprising thing though hasn't been the mentality and the way they've grinded out these penalty shootouts and stuff. It's been how good they've been defensively. Like Senegal, they've only conceded 2 goals, and that's without the first choice goalie as well, who I think he got injured in maybe I want to say the first game, it could be the second game, and Gabashi, I think he's got Gabashi has filled in wonderfully throughout the tournament. He's gone down a couple of times, injured himself. It's just like every time the ball comes in the box, he seems to get injured himself. But he's fit, he should be playing in the final tonight. And Egypt fans will probably be quite grateful that he is. Yeah, so Egypt, they've scraped the luck a bit. But I wouldn't even say it's necessarily luck because it's been against some of the best teams in the competition. Like look at the likes of Ivory Coast and Morocco. They were probably expected to go both them rounds. And then they got through against Cameroon as well, the hosts, who mounted a spectacular comeback last night to win the third place playoff on
Yeah.
penalties.
To be fair, what just to say, for a host nation to lose a semi-final the way it did, and then to have the sort of mentality and mental resolve to, granted in the first half there was obviously a clear like they didn't want to be there type thing, but in the second half they really did show like they did do like justice as host and probably did the nation quite proud after the disappointing exit, and to come back from 3 goals down to make it 3-3 and then put some penalties away, which in the semi-final, after seeing them take penalties in the semi-final, must have been practicing 24/7 up until that, because completely different set of penalties. Really, it was unbelievable.
Yeah, and I just think that it makes what Egypt done a lot more impressive as well, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, look, Egypt have like you said, like defensively been really good, and yeah, they have done a lot better than many people expected. I think maybe it's because like we lack a certain naivety when it comes to maybe this sort of area of international sides. Like you look at like the Nigeria team and it has more names you recognise. You look at the Ivory Coast team with Zaha, Pepe, like Kessie, and you think, well, these men are playing for Palace and Arsenal and AC Milan. And Egypt, really, you're thinking, oh, they've got Salah, El Neni, and maybe if you remember Higazi at West Brom, like maybe you've got that sort of mentality. But they've obviously got a side that is built well. They've got a good manager in Carlos Queiroz, who probably has helped them a lot when you compare him to probably the experience of the other managers in it at the top level of the game. He's probably outdoing them all put together. So that obviously must have made a big impact, and it's showing on the pitch. And maybe, granted, the fact that maybe he's not going to be able to be in the dugout on the final because of his sending off might have an impact, or maybe he's drilled his team well enough to know what they're doing without him. Which, I mean, that's what it looked like in the semi-final. So yeah, all credit to Egypt and credit to Salah as well, because I think, look, going into the tournament, Egypt is probably what people are looking at it going, oh, it's Salah FC, but he's stepped up for them without being on in the spotlight and making it all about him. And he's like, and I think that probably helps a lot of players because it means that they can't shy away, because they can't just put all the responsibility on Salah. As much as he's probably ready for that, he's also happy to trust his teammates, which I think in some international teams, when you've got a player that far above the level of everyone else, I think sometimes there becomes a bit of a rift in the relationship, because like the top players are annoyed because he's like, well, this guy's not, Oneni's nowhere near as good as Fabinho, or Higazi's not as good as Van Dijk, but he's trusting his team, and he's obviously having a really positive impact on the team. So fair play to him, really, because he's showing quite a good level of maturity in terms of leading his country. So fair play.
Yeah, and I read just then he's only got 2 goals, which for Mo Salah maybe some people are thinking that's a bit rubbish. Obviously, Abubakar's got 8, looks absolutely nailed on for the Golden Boot, because I think the one behind him is in 5 goals and he's not in the final. So Salah's not scored in 6, is he? but yeah, I think a lot of people downplay his performances as well. But I think you have to look at it from the whole thing, and it's like even when he's not been doing stuff on the pitch, he's been sort of leading them and inspiring them on to like the other players to do stuff, or he's been urging like the defence to keep their heads and stuff. And having a player like Salah in your team just obviously brings the whole team up really as well.
Yeah,
If you get what I mean.
yeah, and granted, he's only scored 2 goals, but Egypt have only scored 4 in the tournament, so he still scored half the goals. So it's still not a bad like percentage of goals to have contributed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think as well, like people forgetting that. I think this is more of a trait that you probably get if the player's more maybe a centre back or a central midfielder or a goalkeeper, where people think maybe this mentality. But Salah now, after his years at Liverpool, he's a winner. He knows how to win, and he knows what mentality teams need to have. He's got one of the best coaches in terms of man management and mentality in Klopp, teaching him stuff every single day. He's going to get a little bit of that in his head and try and use it to help his team. And I think that's showing like the way that he is performing and leading his team, like you said, like really like being really positive, lots of praise, like but also demanding a lot, maybe of players that maybe weren't expecting like the demands to be placed on them. And credit to the rest of the Egypt team for stepping up as well. But I mean, if you're looking at the final, you're still probably like you're still on paper, you're still looking at Senegal as probably favourites. But I think if Egypt have proved anything, it's that the names on the team sheet don't always equate to to what the result's going to be. So
yeah, I think just to add on that as well, the fact that they've been so good defensively sort of shows exactly what you've just said there, really. If you got what I mean.
yeah, exactly. Like it's a very, very well built team where it's almost that thing you're getting in football now, where a system like the system is almost becoming more important than the players. If you have a system that plays well on the pitch, the quality of the players almost has less of an impact. No, obviously it has still a massive impact, but if you can find a system that is fairly routine, that's fairly simple, that like is comfortable but also quite effective, you can bring in players to play better in the system that maybe aren't as good as in other positions or other systems or playing other types of football. So once again, it goes back to the quality of the coach they've got. Obviously, the players they've got in the side, some of the more experienced guys they've got in the side, and yeah, I think it's really really well done from them, and it almost makes you think you kind of want them to win it because, but I mean, I'd still want my boy Edouard Mendy to pick up another trophy, so I might have to swing that way just for the game, but a lot of respect for Egypt in this tournament and a lot of praise as well.
Yeah, I think obviously I'm quite torn, and so is the rest of the Liverpool fan base apparently. Senegal are the bookies' favourites, 23-20, whereas Egypt are 16-5. But I think it's going to be a close game with the fact that both sides haven't really scored that many, and they're both quite solid defensively. I'm predicting a 1-0, but we'll see you for at the very end of the video, I think. But for now, it's on the Mané v Salah debate, I think. Liverpool fans are definitely split. Most of the polls I've seen on Twitter and over social media things have said they want Mané to win, but then I ran one the other day and it got 71% for Salah off like 70 odd votes. So it's a mixed bag. A lot of the people I asked people to comment why as well, and a lot of them said like, well, for Salah we've got a Ballon d'Or to win and all this, which would be my argument for Salah winning it.
Yeah.
It does enhance his chances, and I think another aspect of it for me is if Mané loses it, he comes back with more hunger than if he wins it. Maybe, as in, he's devastated by that, and he makes sure he wants to win something else. You know what I mean? And with Diaz, with the sign of Diaz, obviously we've talked about the impact that will have on Mané already on this show. But yeah, but for Mané win it would be nice as well because it's his nation's first one. If he scores a goal or something, it'd be absolutely sensational for him. But I think for the legacy thing, I think personally I'm leaning towards Salah.
Yeah, I think like we discussed quite a while ago now, talking about the impact that winning AFCON would have on maybe Salah's chances of winning a Ballon d'Or, and maybe we didn't talk about it in a lot of detail because one, we probably maybe thought that was asking a bit too much maybe for Salah to win AFCON, but look, he's in the final, and if he does win it, it's an incredible achievement considering the strength of some of the teams in there and getting where they have. So, and look, if he scores the winner or the decisive penalty or something, or does something magical to set up a goal, then it only adds to it. But yeah, it is an interesting one because I think you can see with Salah how much Egypt means to him. Like the devastation when they're struggling, the emotion and the passion when they're winning. Like if he doesn't win AFCON after they're getting this close, does it? Obviously, I've talked about his mentality, and I'm not saying that this would happen, but does it maybe he gets back to Liverpool, Mane's won it, and then he's there thinking like, does it drop him, like does he start feeling a bit like down in the dumps, or does it happen for Mane? You've seen Salah as like the out and out golden boy in Liverpool, like scoring the goals, being the one everyone's talking about. Then he goes and beats him in an AFCON final. Then he sees Diaz getting an assist against Cardiff earlier today, doing his thing, and he starts going like, well, maybe I need a new start, or maybe I need to get away from this because I'm not feeling like. Maybe I'm not feeling the love. I'm not saying either scenario will happen. Maybe they'll go back and they'll be laughing about it and enjoying it, and that's probably the way it'll go because they are like good. They are good mates. They are teammates and they're professionals. But it is an interesting dynamic, really, when we're talking about the final.
He did say, I think Salah in an interview, he said it's great to play against Mané. We'll be rivals on the pitch during the match, but afterwards we'll just go back to being teammates regardless of what happens, really. But I think it probably does have a psychological impact deep down, but he's not going to come out and say that before the match. But I think whichever one probably loses it comes back with a point to prove then. So it's probably a win-win for Jurgen Klopp, really, and Liverpool fans, really. But I think Mané, if he loses it, has got slightly more to prove because the sign that he has with a Salah on that right wing isn't really... He's quite untouchable right now, really, isn't he, really?
Yeah, and Salah coming back with a point to prove after the way he's played this season is quite a scary prospect considering we play you in a final in 3 weeks. But
yeah, that's another reason actually I want Egypt to win. You've got Mendy in goal. You'll have Mendy in goal for the final. So if Salah slots 1 or 2 past him tonight, he might be in his head about it in a couple of weeks' time.
Well, I mean, he's already scored a penalty against him in the league. He's already scored a great goal. No, I mean, there's not much Mendy really could have done about either. Like maybe
Marcus Alonso tax, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got to give the goalkeeper more of a break when Alonso's in playing nothing back against Salah. But yeah, maybe these like mental games, like footballers are people, like they're gonna have these sort of things. If Mendy does lose the final, and it is through something Salah does, maybe when they're lining up in at Wembley on the 27th, and he sees Salah and he's going, not this, not again.
Not this guy again.
I can't do this again. He's probably thinking, Keps, like, come on, maybe you have this one, lad. But look, it'll be the final's gonna be a good game, and I think the tournament maybe when I remember some of the earlier games of AFCON, maybe it didn't start as maybe as entertaining and as flowing as it would be. I think in like the first round of games, there was only one game that had like more than 3 goals in or something. But I mean, it's been a tournament where every time you look at one of the favourites, like the next game they play, they seem to go out. Like Algeria not getting out of the group. I think Ivory Coast losing, going out to Egypt's a massive one. I think Nigeria going out to Tunisia is a massive one. Like comparing the teams and the sort of how well-rounded those teams look and appear on paper, like it's ridiculous. Like Tunisia is still playing like Wabi Kazri, like, and yet they beat Nigeria. Like it's all like tournament. It's been a good tournament, really. It's had its like entertaining moments. Like I'm still adamant that Sierra Leone keeper is probably the best keeper I've ever seen in terms of like
whoa.
flair,
one sec.
suave.
Surely the Comoros I think it was the Comoros.
Oh, the Comoros left back,
goalie, but he was actually a left back playing in goal. Yeah,
but this is what I mean. Like name
that
a
triple
tournament.
Save was surely moments of the tournament.
Exactly. Name a tournament where a team has to play a left back in goal because the other 3 can't play. Then they sellotape his number onto a goalkeeper shirt. They play the hosts and one of the favourites, go down to 10 men, and still only lose 2-1. Like, it's pretty mad when you think.
And the free kick, I think it was a free kick, wasn't it? Or maybe it was just a screamer that they scored in that game was absolutely ridiculous as well.
It was. It was. Like, it's just things like that where, like, you don't get that with other international tournaments, really. It's like, it's just got an extra sort of, like, level of entertainment that like, maybe the Euros don't quite have. Maybe the Euros have a bit more quality, but less of that.
I think it's time as well for AFCON to be a bit more respected, really. Like, there's been a lot of disrespect, even like with the footage, with the coverage on Sky Sports. It's like they had one solo commentator, they had no like pundits before the match, and no good graphics in there during half time. It was like a bit of a break in it.
It was like a highlight reel, wasn't it?
Yeah,
the first half. Yeah,
which is just a bit. They start people like on if it was a Monday Night Football or a Super Sunday, they wouldn't wouldn't have that. Would they have Gary Neville or Roy Keane or whoever saying stuff about the match or whatever? But
Yeah,
other
and
than
you
that,
think about like how some of the like big like African stars in football, like imagine if you had like Drogba on when Ivory Coast are playing Egypt and it goes to
or even
penalties, or you
tonight,
have
like one of the greatest African players talking about potentially two more of the greatest African players. Do you know, if you like,
exactly like
it's just that's a good dynamic. Like imagine you have like Yaya Toure and Drogba, or like Eto'o and
yeah,
Drogba if you can get them. Do you know, like because Eto'o would probably be quite a bit hard to get maybe, but like just show the tournament some respect of some of these legends, or even like African players who aren't necessarily legends, but like people have heard of them, like former Premier League players who were African. Do you know what I mean? But they just
yeah,
haven't really put much. I think they just sort of put it on for the sake of it because the likes of Salah and Mané were in it, and obviously other people, but like they've just sort of put it on so they'll get some more views from the English market. People who know
yeah,
some of these players, like you like Mendy, Salah, Mané, Roman Saiss, say from Wolves fans maybe. Cornet for Burnley fans, you know what I mean? So they just sort of put it on so they've satisfied that English market when really it should be celebrating how good this tournament and African football is. Like, look at some of the players that Africa produced, like Ballon d'Or winner George Weah, Samuel Eto'o, Drogba, Salah, Mané, Aubameyang. You know,
yeah.
that's just a few that come to mind instantly. But I haven't actually had this question wrote down, but I suppose, you know, if what Salah or Mané win tonight, where do they rank amongst like the greatest African players in your opinion? Like your likes of Drogba and your likes of Eto'o and people like that.
Toure in a way. Oh,
Yeah.
I think. Look, I think certainly Salah, probably, possibly Mane. They're both like in the sort of discussion for something. Probably maybe Salah a bit more, but like winning an Afcon, like a lot of like the great players didn't do that. Drogba lost. I think it was the 2012 final. Like so it's not. Granted, he also won the Champions League, but he swings and roundabouts. So
Yeah, that's when I'm hoping happens to whoever loses it. For
yeah,
like
they win the
whichever Liverpool,
Champions
yeah,
League.
or they win like the come back
Yeah,
and somehow overhaul City maybe.
yeah.
But I
But
think go on.
they they're definitely like they become part of the conversation. Like Mane, they win Senegal's first ever one. If Salah carries Egypt to what is it, that eighth one they've won or
Yeah,
something.
first since 2010 it'd be I think.
Right, so they're definitely in there. Plus all the club honors as well.
Yeah,
Like you certainly can't say no. I think maybe it's a bit of nostalgia when you think of like Eto'o and Toure and Drogba. Like these guys all won like Champions Leagues and European Cups and numerous league trophies and played like 100 plus games for their countries and stuff. So maybe it's a conversation that needs to be looked at once Salah and Mane have stopped winning stuff and sort of ended their career. But there's no reason why either of them can't be up there or in the conversation by the time the career comes to an end, really.
yeah, right. So we'll move on now, and just for the final section of this, thanks to everyone who's joined. Make sure you're following us at crazy_kickoff on Twitter. Predictions. So we'll let you go first.
I mean, oh God, yeah. My head says Senegal. My heart says Egypt a little bit, just because of how I've seen both teams play in the tournament. But I think it might be maybe. I know they've both been quite solid, but I might say 2-1 Senegal with Mane and Salah both on the score sheet.
Oh,
I think maybe Edouard Mendy pulling off some spectacular saves to win it for Senegal would be quite good. But I can see it going all the way to penalties as well. So
if it goes to penalties, I think Egypt probably have the boost because they've been through penalties twice already. So they're sort of like, well, come on,
yeah,
boys, we've done this twice already.
yeah,
I'm gonna go though. I think Egypt in normal time 1-0, and obviously Mo Salah getting a goal.
yeah.
They showed
I
they can
think
defend resolutely against some of the best sides in the tournament. So, you know, I might be totally wrong. I might be 3-0 or something, but I'm going 1-0 Egypt, Mo Salah winner. And then if it goes to extra time, I think Egypt win on penalties.
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
I think that's a fairly reasonable shout.
Yeah. Right, thanks everyone for joining. We'll see you next time. I think we're going with the FA Cup special, aren't we? Maybe tomorrow, maybe Tuesday.
Yeah.
We'll react to the games and subsequently the draw that happened earlier on today. See you later, guys. Thanks for watching.
See ya.